From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to Montana This Morning. It's 5:30. I'm Victoria Hill. Thanks for kicking off the week with us.
And I'm MCINTOSH. Guess what? The wind's going to blow.
Oh, boy. Never saw that coming.
Oh, boy.
Said no one ever.
Spoiler alert. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on. First Interstate ICAM, we've got a brilliant full moon to get started, but also generally a clear sky to go along with it. It's really pretty, just this overnight sky. 37 degrees, though, with those wind gusts up to around 30 miles an hour. Makes it feel a lot chillier out there, and temperatures regionally are a lot colder. We have 6 above right now in Butte and 8 above in Worland for a couple of the colder readings. It's only 18 in Cody and Worland this morning, 16 for you in Sheridan, 20 in Miles City. Now 38 in Livingston, but there's where the wind is, gusting up to around 45 to 50 miles per hour pretty consistently during the overnight. And that's going to shift out a bit more towards the Big Timber Harleton area. And you can see, of course, we mentioned that Billings also has some of that wind in the mix. For southern Montana and northern Wyoming, looking at temperatures into the teens and single digits across much of northern Wyoming this morning. Powell right now the exception to 25, and then a lot of 20s to low 30s across southern Montana, with Crow Agency being the exception at only 11 degrees. Temperatures warming up near 50 today, but it will be a little breezy at times. We'll break down the rest of the week's forecast for you. There are a few ups and downs, and we'll tell you about them coming up in a little bit.
All right, looks like another chance to get your outdoor Christmas decorations, holiday decorations put out if you want to.
If you want to.
All right, thank you so much, Ed. I'll get on to the news.
Okay, thanks.
Our top story this Monday morning, more than 266,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, and the virus continues to spiral out of control in much of the country. Health experts are warning the situation will get worse over the next few weeks, fueled by holiday gatherings and travel. As CBS's Deborah Alfarone reports, we will be hearing from the CDC this week on the distribution plan for the coronavirus vaccine.
Millions of Americans are now home after Thanksgiving trips to see family and friends.
Everybody was masked, but it's just nervous of sitting next to everybody.
Health officials warned against gathering for the holiday. Now many are getting tested for COVID-19.
We had a few people over just to be safe.
Hospitalizations are already at record highs in 33 states.
We may see a surge upon a surge.
Officials with the White House Coronavirus Task Force say it will get worse.
If your family traveled, you have to assume that you were exposed and you became infected, and you really need to get tested in the next week.
In Los Angeles County, a 3-week safer at home order goes into effect today. It bans gatherings with anyone outside the household and puts new restrictions on businesses.
The numbers are going up, then I think it's necessary that we do that.
The CDC meets tomorrow to discuss who should get a coronavirus vaccine if it's available next month. Health experts say the elderly and healthcare workers will likely be first in line.
If you're part of the public, I want you to understand it'll probably be end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter next year before you can get a vaccine.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy urged the public not to relax yet.
For the next 2 or 3 months, we're in the fight of our lives.
In neighboring New York City, elementary schools will reopen in 1 week. Students will be required to get tested weekly for the virus. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
New York City, the nation's largest school district, had closed schools after the positivity rate passed 3%. It's still above that, but the mayor cited evidence that showed schools are not the main spreaders of COVID-19. Here in Montana, the state is approaching 700 deaths. Counties across the state are reporting 692 COVID-19 related deaths. There are 461 people currently hospitalized with the virus across the state. The state has 16,650 active cases, while Yellowstone County continues to have the highest number of cases with just under 4,400. COVID-19 has affected every aspect of our society, including people who are victims of violent crime. The criminal justice system across the country has a backlog of cases because of the pandemic, and that's making some victims and their families wait for justice. Reporter Cesar Rodriguez tells us how one family waits anxiously to see their daughter's killers behind bars.
Arnulfo Ochoa can't control his tears as he remembers his late daughter Marlene Ochoa Lopez, who would have celebrated her 21st birthday this month. In April of 2019, she was strangled and her baby pulled from her womb after she was lured to a house with a promise of free baby clothes. Her alleged killers, Clarissa Figueroa and her daughter Desiree, were charged with first-degree murder.
Pues esta pandemia sí ha afectado en eso de las cortes.
Arnulfo Ochoa says he's frustrated because COVID-19 has forced the hearing to be rescheduled over and over. For him and others across the country, the wait is painful.
Desesperación a veces no saber qué está pasando.
Arnulfo tells me he's worried about having to wait because he doesn't understand the legal system or how his daughter's case will end. The National District Attorneys Association says there are backlogs of criminal cases in every state, and daily court dockets have fewer cases because of the social distancing restrictions. In many cases, trials and hearings are done remotely.
You know, in this country, it's critically important that people accused of crimes have rights. They're spelled out in the Constitution.
Making sure a trial is done fairly might mean continued delays to preserve the constitutional rights of a defendant. Judith Miller is a law professor at the University of Chicago. She reminds families of victims that moving cases too quickly can be counterproductive.
In our system, when those rights aren't respected in court, that means that the person who's accused of a crime can then appeal, and if they win their appeal, potentially have the whole verdict or a case thrown at that was already decided thrown out, and you have to do it all over again.
Professor Miller says that something as simple as wearing a face mask in court can give the impression that the accused is guilty, influencing a jury's decision.
Lo que sí pido es que se haga justicia.
This 43-year-old father says he understands the legal process has been stalled by the pandemic, but hopes the courts can bring closure to his daughter's case soon. Reporting in Chicago, I'm Cesar Rodriguez.
And now closer to home, the body of a young woman was found along the banks of the Yellowstone River near Shepherd over the weekend. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says a goose hunter found the body near Arrow Island Park around 10 o'clock Sunday morning. Investigators estimate the woman was in her 20s, but could not say how long she had been dead. Linder also refused to speculate indications of foul play because the body was heavily decomposed. Sheriff Linder declined to speculate on any identity until the coroner's office confirms via autopsy. Friends and family of Amelia Rose Brooks, the 22-year-old Billings woman who went missing in mid-October, are asking everyone to be patient in waiting for official autopsy results. At least one person died in a crash late last night in Bighorn County. The Montana Highway Patrol is reporting a fatal crash between Crow Agency and Hardin. It was reported just after 11 o'clock between the interstate and River Road. Details on how many people were involved, injuries, and how the crash happened have not been released. CBS News has learned President-elect Biden will be making several historic firsts with key cabinet picks. This as the man who oversaw security of the 2020 presidential election speaks for the first time to 60 Minutes. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has the latest on the presidential transition from Washington.
My fellow Americans.
President-elect Biden will be receiving his first full intelligence briefing today as President Trump continues his baseless claims of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election.
We did a good job. We did it right.
The president fired Chris Krebs, who headed up security for the election, as the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Krebs, speaking to 60 Minutes, backed up his claim that this year's vote was the most secure in U.S. history.
I have confidence in the security of this election because I know the work that we've done for 4 years in support of our state and local partners. I know the work that the intelligence community has done, that the Department of Defense has done, that the FBI has done.
President Trump again making unsupported claims in his response on Twitter. 60 Minutes never asked us for a comment about their ridiculous one-sided story on election security was probably our least secure ever. Several places, including Wisconsin and counties in Pennsylvania, will be certifying their votes today. Meantime, CBS News has learned President-elect Joe Biden is planning to nominate 2 women of color to major roles, Neera Tanden as his White House budget director and Cecilia Rouse to chair the Council of Economic Advisors. This after naming an all-female communications team over the weekend. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
CBS News has also learned that former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen will likely be nominated for Treasury Secretary. She would be the first woman to hold that job. And Biden, meantime, suffered hairline fractures in his foot while playing with his dog yesterday. He'll likely require a walking boot for several weeks. And now on to much lighter news. The Magic City is no stranger to dazzling Christmas light displays. Maybe you've taken the family to Billings North Pole on the South Side or the musical show on Alkali Creek. For 7 years, one Billings woman has tracked all of the best spots in town. Since 2013, Angie Whitecotton has been compiling a map to show Billings residents the best places to go. Whitecotton said she has a lot of first-time houses on the map this year and plenty of locations that have years of experience. With everyone being cooped up in their houses during the pandemic, Whitecotton said people are chomping at the bit to see displays this year.
I've had a lot of people asking like weeks ago when the map's going to be out. And I'm like, well, most people don't put their lights on until the first of at least Thanksgiving. So I usually post it usually the day after Thanksgiving.
And it's not too late to add your house to the map. You can find links to the map and an online application form at ktvq.com.